Donald Trump is set to be inaugurated as the President of the United States on January 12th. Breaking a 150-year tradition, he invited global leaders, including Chinese Communist Party Chairman Xi Jinping, to attend the ceremony. There was widespread speculation about whether Xi would attend. It wasn't until the morning of January 17th, just days before the event, that the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced that Vice President Han Zheng would attend as Xi's special representative. Many had already predicted that Xi would decline the invitation, viewing it as a political trap. Among the 8 current top-ranking CCP leaders, Han Zheng ranks 7th within the Politburo Standing Committee. Traditionally, the Chinese ambassador to the United States would attend inaugurations on behalf of Beijing. Independent commentator Cai Shen-kun stated that sending Han was expected, as it was unlikely that Xi would attend. Cai explained that attending the inauguration of a Western leader with values fundamentally opposed to Marxist ideology would break precedent. Xi opted to send a representative out of diplomatic courtesy while steering clear of an ideological clash. On January 17th, the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs reiterated its stance on mutual respect and peaceful coexistence. It expressed a willingness to enhance dialogue with the incoming U.S. administration, manage differences, and promote stable and sustainable bilateral relations. Cai Shen-kun provided further analysis, suggesting Xi had another reason for not attending: the desire to repair relations with the United States. He is aware that Trump's presidency could bring significant challenges. By softening his approach, Xi aims to avoid direct confrontation, as escalating tensions with the U.S. could severely impact China, especially given its current fragile economic state. Cai also noted that Xi's self-perceived role as a global leader clashed with the optics of attending an event that might be seen as conceding to U.S. authority. Another critical factor was security. Cai pointed out that Xi prioritizes personal safety and avoids large public gatherings with tens of thousands of attendees. The risks involved in such events made his attendance highly unlikely. Professor Ye Yaoyuan from the University of St. Thomas also noted that Xi's decision not to attend stemmed from 2 major concerns. First, U.S.-China competition in technology, trade, and strategy could turn the inauguration into a diplomatic showdown, with Trump pressuring Xi to address contentious issues. Second, high-level meetings are usually meticulously planned, with prearranged talking points to prevent missteps. In contrast, this invitation came with little preparation time, which could have heightened apprehensions. Yun Sun, director of the China program at the Stimson Center in Washington, told the Associated Press that attending the inauguration would backfire for Xi. If Trump imposed tariffs on Chinese goods immediately after the ceremony, he would not only lose face, but also appear naive. The Financial Times reported on January 10th that Trump's team had initially hoped a Politburo member with higher authority than Foreign Minister Wang Yi would attend the ceremony. Sources suggested that Trump might be dissatisfied if Xi only sent representatives like Wang or Han, given the direct invitation to Xi himself. Cai Shen-kun remarked that while Trump's team to attend, it was unlikely unless the U.S. were hosting a closer ally like North Korea or Vietnam. By sending Han Zheng, Xi appeared to walk a fine line, showing willingness to maintain diplomatic contact without committing to direct engagement. According to the Wall Street Journal, Beijing has been trying to establish connections with Trump's inner circle in recent months, but progress has been limited. Attempts by former and current Chinese officials, including former Ambassador Cui Tiankai, have largely been met with indifference. Professor Ye Yaoyuan noted that Beijing's current contact with Trump's incoming administration remains limited. Ye said, "So far, it seems the Chinese government is a bit uneasy. They are uncertain about the changes Trump might bring to U.S. policy on China after taking office." It's unclear whether China's top diplomat Wang Yi will accompany Han Zheng to the U.S. Ye mentioned that although Han outranks Wang, diplomatic matters are typically handled by Wang. This time, however, Beijing chose to send a high-ranking official like Han Zheng to congratulate Trump, making him the most suitable choice. While Wang Yi might accompany Han, his presence in the U.S. likely won't involve substantive discussions. Meanwhile, several of Trump's cabinet nominees recently appeared at their confirmation hearings. During one such hearing on January 15th, Senator Marco Rubio, nominated for Secretary of State, criticized the Chinese Communist regime. He accused it of benefiting from the global order while shirking its responsibilities. He stated that the CCP has resorted to suppression, lies, deceit, hacking, and theft to gain status as a global superpower, and it did so at the expense of both American interests and the well-being of its own people. Rubio warned that unless the U.S. adopts significant policy changes, CCP-led China will remain America's greatest threat. He also highlighted tensions in the Taiwan Strait, emphasizing that the U.S. must act promptly to curb Beijing's aggression. Tsai Shin-kun believes Rubio's statements likely reflect Trump's broader stance on China policy. Tsai argued that Rubio was effectively voicing Trump's position by directly warning Beijing to halt its global ambitions and stop trying to dictate the world's direction. Australian-based legal scholar Yuan Hongbing said that Rubio's statements hit the mark. He criticized the CCP for exploiting Western appeasement policies over the past few decades and using every possible unethical method to become an economic powerhouse. Yuan called Rubio's remarks not only a condemnation of the CCP's rise, but also a wake-up call for democratic nations. Professor Ye Yaoyuan observed that Rubio's remarks at the hearing were unusually strong for a Secretary of State nominee. If confirmed, Rubio is expected to take a tough stance on core technologies, likely implementing more comprehensive measures, including legislative or executive actions to block the CCP. China expert Wang He highlighted Rubio's accusations that the CCP has sacrificed the welfare of its own people to achieve global superpower status. Wang noted that Rubio has human rights abuses and is likely to make human rights a cornerstone of U.S. foreign policy. Wang added, one of the key lessons from World War II is that regimes that brutally oppress their people often pose the greatest threat to international security. The Nazis were an example, and so are communist regimes. Rubio's focus on this history places it at the center of U.S. diplomacy, dealing a heavy blow to the CCP. Rubio has consistently advocated for a hardline policy on China. His focus on human rights issues has made him a target of CCP sanctions, including being blacklisted in 2000 over his stance on Xinjiang and Hong Kong. Chinese state media has also openly criticized him. Yuan Hongbing commented that Rubio's inability to enter China and Beijing's refusal to engage him are predictable, given his status as a sanctioned individual. By nominating Rubio as Secretary of State, Trump is effectively dismissing the CCP sanctions as meaningless. Yuan added, even before taking office, Trump has already posed a significant challenge to Beijing. So far, Beijing has reacted cautiously to Rubio's remarks. During the Chinese Foreign Ministry's press conference on January 15th, the spokesperson, seemingly aware of Rubio's statements, refrained from issuing any specific responses. Rubio warned that unless something significant changes, like a new balance of power that makes Beijing think attacking Taiwan would be too costly, the U.S. might have to deal with China taking action against Taiwan by the late 2020s. Yuan Hongbing believes Rubio has a clear understanding of the CCP's intentions to militarily invade Taiwan. He considers Rubio's assessment of Xi Jinping's potential timeline for war to be accurate. As the incoming Secretary of State, Rubio's stance suggests that U.S. policy on Taiwan may shift from strategic ambiguity to strategic clarity. Yuan likened this to former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's statement that a Taiwan contingency would also be a contingency for Japan. However, whether this becomes Trump's official stance remains to be seen. In October last year, the Wall Street Journal reported that Trump, when asked about a potential invasion of Taiwan, Trump stated that he would impose a 150 to 200% tariff if an invasion was made. When asked if he would use military force to counter a Chinese blockade of Taiwan, Trump confidently said that it wouldn't come to that under his leadership because Xi Jinping respects him. He knows I'm crazy enough to do it, Trump added. Australian scholar Li Yuanhua interprets Trump's remarks as a strategic maneuver. Trump, he said, establishes clear red lines and implicitly warns Beijing not to test him. Trump's unpredictability is what unnerves the CCP. While he might not engage in verbal threats or empty rhetoric, his unconventional tactics and willingness to break norms leave Beijing struggling to anticipate his next move. Li noted that Trump's ability to disregard traditional rules puts the CCP at a disadvantage. Observers have noted a softer tone from Chinese state media ahead of Trump's return to power. At the end of December, the People's Daily shifted away from its usual anti-American propaganda, organizing an essay contest on stories of Sino-U.S. friendship and calling for both nations to steer relations on the right course. On January 13th, it published a commentary titled "Recognizing the Mutually Beneficial Nature of Sino-U.S. Relations," emphasizing cooperation as the only viable path despite past turbulence. During Biden's presidency, while the U.S. imposed restrictions on China's access to high-tech chips and AI, his administration also maintained frequent diplomatic visits to Beijing. Despite this, Beijing persistently tested U.S. limits, escalating tensions in the South China Sea and increasing military exercises around Taiwan. Now that Trump is poised to return to the White House, questions arise. Will the CCP adjust its assertive tactics in the Taiwan Strait and South China Sea? Yuan Hongbing believes Xi Jinping's strategy towards Trump will combine confrontation with attempts at negotiation. However, adopting a wolf warrior stance would signal willingness to negotiate, whereas compromise and concessions would undermine this perceived strength and render sanctions toothless. Yuan concluded that this places the CCP in a difficult predicament. Yuan said, "I believe the CCP will likely swallow this bitter pill and maintain its strategy of both confrontation and negotiation." Yuan predicts that tensions between the U.S. and the CCP will inevitably escalate. He said, "Trump's Make America Great Again strategy directly opposes the global expansion of the authoritarian regime. Without curbing the CCP's global ambitions, Make America Great Again is just empty rhetoric. To achieve this goal, containing this authoritarian expansion is a necessary precondition." Wang He noted that earlier predictions of China's economy surpassing the U.S. are now far from reality. In this context, the CCP may need to revert to an approach of hiding its strength and biding its time. However, its aggressive nature won't disappear. When it senses an opportunity, it will likely resurface arrogantly. Wang added that while the CCP may employ both hard and soft tactics towards the U.S., its room to maneuver is shrinking. Under sustained pressure from the Trump administration, internal divisions within the CCP may accelerate. Professor Ye Yaoyuan foresees that China-U.S. relations will worsen in the coming years. He said, "The U.S. will adopt a more comprehensive blockade against China across economics, technology, strategy, and security, while demanding Beijing come to the negotiating table." However, if Xi Jinping yields, he'll face immense pressure domestically and within the CCP's leadership, creating a stalemate. The U.S. will grow increasingly assertive, while China, unable to fully retreat to bide its time, will have no choice but to push back aggressively. Tensions will only escalate. Before Trump's return to office, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and former Vice President Mike Pence both visited Taiwan. On January 6, during a speech in Taipei, Pompeo reiterated that the CCP remains the greatest threat to the West and expressed confidence that Trump's administration would continue to treat the CCP as an adversary in national security. Pence, speaking in Taipei on January 17th, reaffirmed unwavering U.S. support for Taiwan, stating that America would never abandon it. Taiwan expert Song Kuo-chung told Radio Free Asia that figures like Pompeo and Pence represent a faction within the Republican Party aiming to counter perceptions that Trump neglects Taiwan and its allies. Song added that while Taiwan hopes to improve relations with the U.S. during Trump's next term, Rubio and other new cabinet members have already signaled their firm stance against the CCP. Any temporary concessions Beijing makes in an attempt to shift U.S. policies will likely end in disappointment.